your case, when you performed experiments and when the higher beings started connecting with you and upgrading you, what happened is you realize and remember your true self, and that is really higher than awakening, and that is something that people still have not experienced, and they need to go through this process as such.
Yeah,
When
everybody's going to have their own experience. And again, I'm going to share something that's going to sound completely unbelievable, but I now understand it and I accept it. And again, I say this for two reasons so that people know what happened to the earth and why things are the way they are. And number two, they will accept it when they're told this. Because if you talk to these beings, they will tell you. And in my meditations, I will have people, when we go out of Earth's atmosphere in our astral bodies and we call these light beings to us, I will say, look into the eyes of these beings and have them show you how they see you, or ask them to tell you who you are. And then I tell them, now repeat back to them what you heard. Because when you repeat back to them, you're actually lodging it into your consciousness. And it will be challenging because they will tell you things along the lines of what I'm going to tell you. So all that stuff I just told you, imagine if that was the only thing that happened to me, that would be enough. But the other thing that was going on is that the same guy that showed up and said, you are a probability, he also showed up at that same time. It might have been the same day or the next day, I can't remember which. He showed up to me and came into my room. I felt his energy. And again, the same thing, the pressure on the chest, the bliss, Kundalini rising, and I'm, going into a completely different dimension. He says, we want to make you king of earth. And I thought to myself, I said, how is that even possible? There's no way that one person can be the king of the entire planet. That's what I'm thinking. And he says, you're king. We want to make you the king of earth. And he starts showing me that I'm going to create this 5D, beautiful, again, I didn't even believe in extraterrestrials a week before. I mean, I'm already, and I start losing it. But they won't stop telling me this. They keep coming back and telling me this. It comes back again later, and I'm like, so I don't understand King of Earth. I'm going to be King of Earth? He says, no, you already are King of Earth. What? I have to pay taxes. I have to pay rent. What are you talking about? This is what I'm thinking to myself. You don't talk like that to these people, right? But I'm thinking that to myself. And he goes, if you don't want it, we'll give it to somebody else. I said, no, I want it. I just don't understand it. And then he comes back again, and then he says, you were king of earth. I was? He says, yes, you were king of earth. You were king of the whole earth. And it doesn't make any sense, right? So then I start hearing about this shift. I start hearing about this 5D shift and the solar flash event and all of that. So I want this to happen, right? So I call my light being friends and I communicate to them and I say, tell me about this 5D flash. Tell me about this solar flash, this ascension event. I said, when is it going to happen? And they said, when you decide. Now, it sounds like everybody says that kind of stuff. When you decide, you're like, right? So I go, yeah, I know. But when? When is it going to happen? And I said, when you decide. We're waiting for you. So after they tell me that 3 or 4 times, I say, okay, fine, I'm just going to do it. So I had this idea to do a meditation, a group meditation, because I got a channel. I thought I'll bring my friends with me. So I do this meditation and I fly out to the sun in my astral body and I take my friends with me and we decide to chant this mantra. By the way, this gentleman gave me a mantra. He gave me a Shiva mantra that, as far as I know, I've never seen in any scripture. And it is Hua, which is, as you know, Hu is Shiva's mantra, Hum. It's a weapon. It destroys negativity. So Hu Ah, the R is rajasic. It creates. So it's tamasic and then rajasic. It destroys and creates, and that's Shiva, right? So he gave me this mantra. I didn't think anything of it. So I start chanting this in this meditation, and I'm saying to people, we're now in the center of the sun, and we're chanting this, and we're going to send solar radiation to the earth and bring ascension. And it was a very powerful meditation. No big deal. I've done lots of powerful meditations. I can feel my crown chakra, all that. And great. I say, okay, guys, we're all done. And I turn off the computer. There are so many light beings in the room, and they are absolutely beside themselves with joy. And they are, and I mean, like, I'm overwhelmed with this, all of this joy, and they are like, they're coming out of their skin, and they're like, thank you so much. You have no idea what you've just done. And they said, oh my gosh, you did it. You did it. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? He said, watch what's going to happen. The next day, we had those huge solar storms. Remember that were hitting Earth, like way back in the beginning? And it scared me, because after that, I could feel my body was responding to the amount of energy, and I got scared and I stopped doing it. And so they were telling me after that, then they go, okay, now that you've done this, you have no idea what you've started, and like, we'll get back to you, right? They're all gone, and I'm still flipping out, like, what? All I did was meditate. What is going on here? So a day later, I go to sleep, I'm in bed, and that's when they were showing up at that time. When I go to sleep, they would show up in my room, and you can feel their presence and all that kind of stuff. So this feminine being shows up, and the feminine light beings are so amazing. You know, the power of the feminine, you know, the true power of the feminine. So she comes to me and she says, you're going to get an upgrade. And I must have had a stupid look on my face, because she goes, now say thank you. I said, thank you. She leaves. And then I'm waiting around. I don't know how long, a few minutes goes by. This power shows up in my room. And there is a being of an energy I've never felt. And just being in his presence, I thought I was just disappearing. It was so powerful. It was everything I could do just to stay in his presence. And he said, because of what you've just done, meaning that meditation, he said, you are now, and I know how this sounds, but bear in mind, everybody listening to me will have one of these titles. He says, you are now Supreme Lord of this universe. Now, you think I just heard that in my head. That's not what happened. I felt this energy hit me. And it was an energy of a God creating with his mouth, you know, like God said, God spoke, and boom, the world exists. He said that, and this energy hit me. And something in me changed so much. I was in bed for 2 weeks. I couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain because my body and my mind were resisting. You know, like I got hit with this energy. I didn't know what the heck happened. Then later, or somewhere along those times, it gets all blurred. This being shows up, and he says, you don't understand. He said, you were once a very powerful king, and you misused your power. And what happened is you created the framework for the dark forces of humans that are ruling this earth now. He said, you created that. You didn't do that, but you created the setup for that. And he says, you have a karma you have to balance. That's why you're king. Now, again, this is just coming to me as energy, and I don't know what to do with it. And so for another week, I indulged in feeling crazy, and I didn't talk to them. I'm going crazy. This guy shows up, and I've never been yelled at by these beings. This was the closest that they came, and this being said, you have to believe what we're telling you about yourself. It's extremely important. You have to believe us. And because he's my friend, I said, okay, I'll believe you. I don't understand it, but I'll believe you. Now that was about 2.5 years ago. About 3 or 4 months ago, I'm sitting here on my couch, and you know, I get light beings showing up every day. So light being shows up and I can feel it. very pleasant and joyful. And I'm used to it now, and I close my eyes and I say, yes, my friends, what would you like to talk about? And these beings say, it came up on my left side. So I know that Pleiadians, because I've experienced them, they show up on my left side. This guy shows up on my right side. Pleiadians show up on my left side. So these beings show up next to me, and I'm talking to them, and they said, do you remember when you first met us? And I started getting this feeling, and I started really realizing that these were Pleiadians. And again, that's hard for me to accept, that whole concept. So back then, I was still struggling with, am I making this stuff up? Pleiadians, Arcturians, you look on, it's all over the place. It's just, So I say, are you Pleiadians? And they say, yes. And then they start to tell me. They say, forgive me, this is going to be hard to say. They say, you were king of Atlantis in the last Satya Yuga, 13,000 years ago. And you were a demigod. You were part God and you were part human. And you were expanding Satya Yuga to create a heaven on earth.